Okay, guys, this is Mr. D here. I want to talk to you about economic systems. Hopefully, this little talk will be helpful in giving you broad strokes of what economic systems are. So, we learned in the last unit that a market is not a physical place, that it's really an arrangement or an agreement between buyers and sellers. And we're going to discuss economic systems and how markets function in those systems. So, before we get started, how do we know what kind of economic system a country has? Well, we know what kind of system it has by how the country answers the three basic economic questions. And those are what to produce, how to produce it, and for whom it is being produced for. And so their answers or responses to those questions are determined by its economic system. The answers to the questions will tell you what kind of system they have. And an economic system is just the way that a group of people or a country organize production and distribution. So it's depending on what source you're looking at. What they have different, either 3 types or 4 types or even 5 types of economic systems. But usually in a classroom, we discuss 4 basic types of economic systems. There's a pure traditional, pure command, and pure market. And note that the word pure is in front of it, and maybe that's different than some of the texts. When you read pure in front of something, you know that it is strictly a model, that they do not exist. A pure traditional, pure command, and pure market does not exist. So really the 4th type is the only true, real economic system, and that is mixed. And so economic models, all of these pure traditional, pure command, and pure market, they're all models we just use for understanding. So anything with pure in front of it does not really exist. So basically every country has a mixed economy. All economies are blank, mixed. So why do we label them? And basically it's a model's used to understand and to classify what kind of economic system each country has. And that it's important today because with global trade, you need to know who your trade partners can or could be. So the 3 basic questions, what to produce, and then it's also how much to produce of that item, how to produce it, and that deals with the factors of production and methods of production, and the for whom, which is the most critical question of all, and that is who's going to get the goods and services, and that's an allocation issue. So allocation is critical. If resources are not handled and distributed correctly, well then there can be all kinds of conflicts. And then the answer to who controls the resources will tell you what kind of economic system they have. So the traditional, all economies started off as traditional. The basic questions were answered through habit, tradition, custom, ritual. Roles were defined by old people or the ancestors, and children played a really important role. They basically were the workforce. They were centered around tribes, social units like families, and sharing was critical to a traditional economy. Sharing was caring. Do they exist today? And no, they do not. But there are examples of traditional economies. Native Americans were traditional economy. The Amish at one time were traditional. The Inuit, Aboriginals in Australia were traditional. The Mabutis, the Maasai, and the Asmat, all traditional economies. Recently, we thought that there was a lost tribe, as in it was all over the media, but only to find out that it was just a hoax. And so every group of people, even if they are traditional in how their markets function, are not traditional economies. They do not exist. Most economies went from being traditional to command, and basically that was kings and queens. When we discuss command economy, we usually are discussing communism, and the people that make the decisions in a command economy are called the central planners. And the factors of production are owned by the government, and the government central planners decide what's going to be produced and how it's going to be produced. Karl Marx is um, the foremost economist in command economies. The weaknesses is a big deal in command economy: lack of motivation, no incentives, no new ideas, no research and development. All of that's in your reading. It's a very inefficient economy. They were very common in the past, any kings and queens, and of course any communist country, the former Soviet Union and China and Cuba, North Korea, Venezuela. Okay, market economies. That would be our economy, our economic system, and that's when individuals and consumers answer the what, the how, and the for whom. Price is determined not through central planners, but through something called the price system, which is we refer to as supply and demand. And self-interest, and the question mark, that comes from Adam Smith, the father of modern economics. And he said that you don't need to dictate, and the government doesn't need to mandate how the market will function. People will do it because they're all in it for themselves, and they're all in it for their own self-interest. And Adam Smith's book, The Wealth of Nations, which I'm going to have you watch a little video about. What's critical and important about that is the date that the book was published. It was the same time that we were not only coming up with a new government system, but a new economic system. He's the father of modern economics, and he explained something called the market system. Basically, Adam Smith said that the government has no say in economic matters. People should be allowed to do just about anything that they want. People should work for their own self-interest. And he's the one that discussed at length the concept of the invisible hand. And basically he said that markets will adjust and fix themselves without outside interference, that the invisible hand of competition will guide businesses to be efficient. And of course laissez-faire, which means to let be or to leave alone. So was Adam Smith correct? Well, now with the global economy, where most of the world is a market economy, it seems so. 200 years of success. One of the things I'm going to ask you to do is go through the goals and characteristics of capitalism. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it now, but make sure that you're familiar with economic freedom, voluntary exchange, property rights, and profit motive. You can review this slide. It's attached. What economic freedom is, what voluntary exchange is, what private property is. Okay, so you don't have to look very hard to find examples of a market economy with just a handful of communist countries operating. It's just about everybody else. Often, we're asked to label our economy. Well, the United States has a mixed economy, just like every country does. It's a mixture between command and market. But we are also considered a market economy, so that makes us a mixed market economy. We're often referred to as capitalists. Americans are referred to as capitalists. And then we often say that we have a free enterprise system. Incentives, we've got a unit, a lesson coming up on incentives, but incentives are just basically, it's a consequence or a reward for action. And so we respond to incentives, something that makes us behave a certain way. They can be positive or negative. And there is another label that we give, and that is the fifth type, which is called a transitional economy. And it's an economy that's changing from one economic system to another, but only in one direction. It's going from command to market, not the other way around. And it basically means that communist countries are giving up their right to business and to property. They're giving up control of the factors of production. China and Russia would be examples of transitional economies. and we would plot countries on a model called a continuum, which is basically just a line between a command and market where we try to place different countries. And so there's a discussion about what is socialism in this module, and basically it's, instead of a transitional, it's when a country is going from market to command. And so anytime a government takes over a market, well, then it's considered becoming more socialist. And so in theory, even just having universal health care is a move towards socialism. And yeah, we try to drop traditional when we're discussing what a mixed market is. Okay, so it does combine all three, but really just those two. All right, and I encourage you, when you get a chance, to go through the remainder of the slides and try to label each one traditional, command, or market, and that will help you with a little TCM quiz that you have at the end of this module. Okay, guys, I hope this helped you out. Hope it was helpful, and reach out and contact me if you have any questions about economic systems. Escape and